Hey everybody, and welcome to Physics 1105 here at Randolph College. This is an online class. So this is a 7-week class, and so it's a little faster than kind of a normal college class, FYI. Now, this class is completely asynchronous, which means that you don't need to sit on Zoom with me at any time. But there are deadlines, and we're going to go into that. That's just to keep you going and not, leaving everything to the last, week 7, right? Okay, I'm Professor Schenk, and I teach physics here at Randolph College. Now, to get into this class, you will need to get into moodle.randolphcollege.edu, and it should show you the class right away when you log in to that. To log into Moodle, you use your username from Randolph. Like, for instance, my email is kshank@randolphcollege.edu. Therefore, my username is kshank and your password. Now, if you can't figure that out, you probably can't even get this video. But please, with any problems like that, call the Randolph number at 434 947 8000 and ask for the IT help desk. Okay. All right, a couple more things. This lab does require a lab kit, so we will be contacting you about that lab kit, making sure that your address is correct, and you should get the kit pretty soon. Now, the first few labs don't need the kit, so don't worry if you don't have it yet. Okay, so first of all, this is what our Moodle page looks like. So I'm going to show you a few things. There's a syllabus site. This site, if I'm open this in a new tab, you can see, we'll go over here, take a look. It's just a syllabus with all the usual stuff for syllabi, right? Okay. And then there's a video conferencing link, which is my Zoom meeting room for when you need to get a hold of me or for office hours or right? So that's this. We use the same link every time. And then we have a few things here, like the formal lab rubric. You're going to know a lot more about the formal labs as we go forward. So no worries, you don't need to memorize this, but it's right here for you. And we have the contents of the lab kit. Now, you may be in the situation in which you're taking both 1105 and 1106 in the next session, right? 1106 is the 7 weeks after this. And if that's the case, you may get a lab kit that has everything for both classes. But if you're only in this class, you're only planning on taking this one class, the list of stuff in the lab kit is right here in the lab kit for 1105 only. Okay, so make sure that when you get the lab kit, you check that you have everything. Okay. My office hours here are from 12:20 to 1:05, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm on Zoom and you can just pop in if you like to. The other thing, the thing that is probably the best way to get a hold of me is to text me at my phone number down here. Now, I may not get back to you if you text me at, 9 or 10 o'clock, because I'm not going to get back to you probably that night. But in general, I see texts much faster than I see emails. And it's just an easier way for us to communicate. Now, if you do that, please make sure you tell me your name and what class you're in because I teach several classes. Okay. Okay, now you will be able to have access to free tutoring. We'll talk about that as class moves on. Now, this is the calendar. Now, this is really important. I would probably print this out and put it up on your board or something at your desk. It tells you kind of all you need to know about deadlines, although you'll see every lab section in Moodle has a lot of details of what is due that week. I told you we have deadlines. So for instance, class is starting on the 21st of August, and then right away you have something due. And this is just an introduction to class quiz on Moodle. This is an Excel quiz on Moodle. And then there's a pre-lab. Every lab has a pre-activity. That's on Moodle. You have a significant figures quiz, a lot of intro stuff. And then you have lab 1, which is going to be an oral report, and you need to schedule it by this day. It says it's due. That just means the schedule for that is due. And in the next couple of days, I'll be putting on a link where you can schedule that report. Now, the other things on the calendar, as you can see, are green text. Green text just means it's a suggested day to complete the lab activities. You don't have to do it then, but note that, like, let's take a look at lab 2. Here's our suggested day. Lab 2 is due, let's see, right here. So it's quite a bit of time, but sometimes that's not the case, right? So be aware that if you don't use our suggested time and you wait, you may be in trouble, right? You might think, oh, I can do this the day before, maybe you can't, right? So just be aware, the green is kind of a suggested day, but there are due dates for the labs themselves, etc. Okay, let me talk about the different kinds of lab reports. One, we have an oral report. It's only one. It's for the very first lab. And that's where you're going to meet with me on Zoom. And that's at a scheduled time. Okay. That is like according to your schedule and my schedule, right? We're not all together. It's just you and me. And then there are informal reports. For instance, look at lab 2. It says informal. That just means that it's a quiz about the lab activities that's on Moodle. Okay. And then there are formal written reports, which is much more what you might have seen in a chemistry class where you have to have an introduction or, a purpose and a procedure and all this kind of thing. There's a lot of information about what we need to be included in that lab in formal reports before you even have to turn one in. And as you can see, the first one isn't due. That's lab 3, which is the first formal report, isn't due till the 9th of September. Okay, so that's kind of how it goes. All right. As far as formal written reports, it's lab 3, lab 5, lab 7. And that's it. So there's only 3 formal reports, but they can be a little strenuous on you. So make sure that you are giving yourself enough time to do those and do those correctly. All right. That's really all we need to know. The end of class is October 7th, the very last lab. It's an informal quiz on Moodle is due then. And otherwise, you can see all of the deadlines laid out here in this calendar. But let's go take a look at, one of the lab. We'll actually take a look at 2 of the lab sections here. So for instance, every lab has its own little section in Moodle, and it starts with what type of report is it? Well, it's a formal oral. That just means that we're going to get together. Is the lab kit required? No. And there's a to-do list. And this one has a lot of things because I told you there were these, introduction to class and Excel and all these other quizzes you can see here listed with their due dates. And then below here, a link to the lab manual for what you're supposed to do. And then all the quizzes. These are quizzes with a little check mark. That means quizzes in Moodle. And a pre-lab, which is also a quiz in Moodle, etc., right? And then a way to schedule your lab report. I've got to update this link. It actually doesn't work, but I will update that. Okay, now here's a question form. Now, this isn't a place for you to ask questions of me. This is a place for you to ask questions of your other friends in the class, other students in the class, right? It's an online class, so you don't get to see them every day. But if you ask questions, they may see those questions and answer. If you want to ask me a question, text me, email me, get on office hours. Okay. And this is a more typical one here. So lab 2, motion and error it's an informal report quiz one. That's a quiz in Moodle. Does it require the lab kit? No. And then for the to-do list, it's simply the pre-lab, do the lab activities, and then do the informal report quiz, okay? So this is more typical. That first week is, kind of crazy. And then you have a link to the lab manual. You have a lecture and assignment that's a pre-lab that has a little lecture component in it. You'll see when you click on it. You have a helper video to kind of help you get the analysis done. And then the informal report quiz, and then a question form. So that's very typical of the of a lab section, right? The section on Moodle. And they all each have one of those. Now you can work ahead if you like, right? But try to stick to those deadlines because you'll be very unhappy if you've left a bunch of it to the end. Okay, 7 weeks goes by fast. All right, well, I think that's all I need to tell you about. And we'll quote unquote see you in lab and good luck.